Salams and welcome. Thank you for joining me in another episode of the Quran in English Basics for Beginners. We are going through the tafsir of Surah Yasin, chapter 36 of the Quran, and we are busy with verses 1 to 12, page number 367, 368, in volume 7 of Ma'ariful Quran by Maulana Mufti Muhammad Shafi, and updated and revised by Maulana Mufti Taqi Uthmani. Allah reward all of them abundantly, right? We finished the previous episode at this point by these similitudes, right? So let's just continue with the similitudes of those who don't believe. So then comes another similitude. It was said that it is like a wall having been placed as a barrier all around someone. So the ones who reject the truth and they keep on rejecting the truth, they are causing problems for themselves, right? Thus surrounded, this person becomes unaware of what is going on outside. Imam Razi has said that there are two kinds of barriers against perception. One barrier is of the kind that prevents a person from seeing even himself or herself. The second barrier is the inability to see one's surroundings. For the disbelievers, both kinds of barriers against seeing the truth were present. Therefore, the first example is that of the first barrier, that is, one who cannot bend his neck to lower his eyes, cannot even see his own self or the state in which he or she exists. And the second example is that of the second barrier that stops one from seeing his surroundings. In verse number 12, as I mentioned, we'll skip some parts which are more to do with academic discussions, right, or more to do with debatable issues. In verse number 12, وَنَكْتُبُ مَا قَدَّمُوا وَآثَارَهُمْ, in verse number 12 by saying, and we are recording whatever deeds they send ahead and whatever effects they leave behind. The doing of deeds has been equated with sending ahead to point out that good or bad deeds done in the mortal world have not gone the way of all flesh right here. Instead of that, these were their wherewithal, their baggage that has gone ahead of them to their destination in the next world that they have to confront. Now, if these deeds were good, they will make them look handsome in paradise. And if the deeds were bad, the embers of hell will be their fate. The real purpose of recording these deeds is to keep them preserved. Writing too is a means of doing that, so that there remain no probability or possibility of error or forgetfulness increase or decrease, right? So this is very important to understand. And it's not only the deeds that a person does, but what kind of legacy are you leaving behind? If you start a good deed, or you start, for example, a good movement, let us say you start a human rights organization, or let us say you start a charity organization. You say, look, there's a problem in the community, and let's establish a charity organization or a cancer organization and so on, right? Or the old people are not being well taken care of, and you start an old age organization. Because the thing that you're doing, the charity organization or any of these other organizations, they are good organizations, then even after, now you will get your reward for that, but even after you die, you will continue getting that reward as long as the people in that organization are still running it. Because it was through your niyat, and perhaps maybe if you're a wealthy person, then part of your will, you've also told your accountant that, every month there must be a debit order ongoing for that organization. So it's an ongoing legacy, a positive legacy that you've left behind. Or for example, I know of many families where the grandfathers, they taught their sons that, like this was in the days when people still, like in the early 1950s or 40s or 30s, and things were very, very difficult during the days of apartheid. But the elderly people would go out and help the poor, the widows and orphans, especially in the towns and villages. And then their sons would then also follow the tradition. And then their grandsons, who today are running big businesses, will say, you know what, my grandfather started this tradition, and up to today we are still giving out food in this township, or helping those with the textbooks and so on. So in this way, that old grandfather was long ago in the grave, he is still getting the rewards of that wonderful deed that he started. On the other hand, let us say if you start a criminal organization, you're a gangster or any other, you're a drug dealer, then even after you die, because you're causing crime or problems in the society, you are adding sins to your name. And after you die, your gang members who are now still continuing with their threatening, their kidnapping, their rape and the murder and the crime, they are still committing sins because of that evil organization you started, and that sins will also accumulate for you as well while you're in the grave. So it all depends on what kind of legacy you have left behind. Similarly, if you take it on the global stage, if one country has invaded another country unjustly, through lies and so on, they know what lies they've done. They cannot fool Allah. They cannot fool the supreme creator of the heavens and the earth. And by invading another nation, so many people's lives, so many people have died, so many people's lives have been destroyed. So one day when these political leaders, when they are dead, they will still get the punishment for the lives that have been affected or devastated because of what they have done. For example, the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. People are still suffering. So the architects of that, will still be, the sins will be adding to their register for the day of judgment. Similarly, the Vietnam War, the invasion of the Vietnam War, millions of tons of Agent Orange was used to destroy millions of not millions of tons, hundreds of thousands of tons of Agent Orange were used to destroy millions of hectares of forest and trees. But it contaminated the environment, and it contaminated the underwater table, and thereby many people up to today are still suffering from cancer as the side effects of this very deadly substance that was used. So the people who gave the order for this, and the people who instituted the order and were spraying the Agent Orange, they are all part of the chain of evil, and the sins will accumulate to their name, right? So join me in the next episode, where the heading is the effects of deeds are also recorded like the deeds themselves. Stay well, look after yourself. Alhamdulillah.